You were never supposed to become aware of this. Not like this. Not this clearly. Because once you see it, you don't go back. And yet, here you are, you felt it. That moment. When something shifted and no one else reacted. That conversation. Everything sounded normal. But something inside you went quiet. That look. That pause. That change in tone. You couldn't explain, but you noticed, you felt it, you ignored it. And now it's back. Stronger. Not. Louder, clearer. And that's what makes it harder to dismiss. Because this doesn't feel like anxiety. It doesn't feel like OV or THINKING. It feels like pressure. Like something inside you has been building quietly. For months. Maybe longer. And now it's too clear to ignore. You tried to rationalize it. Of course you did. It's just stress. I'm overthinking. It'll pass. But it did in single quotes. It stayed. At first. Subtle. Easy to ignore. Easy to override. Until it wasn't. Because this isn't just a feeling. It's a pattern. And deep down you already know that. You've seen it before. Different people. Different situations. Different timing. Same energy. Same quiet disappointment. That same moment. Where something almost made sense and then didn't. And every time. You told yourself, maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe it's just me. But what if it wasn't? What if the thing you kept doubting was the only thing that was ever accurate? Pause. That's what unsettles you. Not the confusion. The implication that you were right. The whole time. Because if you were right, then you didn't miss it. You ignored it. More than once, you felt it, you knew it. And you stayed anyway. Not because you're weak. Not because you don't see clearly. But because seeing clearly changes things, and you weren't ready for that. You don't just notice things, Taurus. You feel them. Before they make sense. Before there's proof. Before anyone else sees it. And that's exactly why you learn not to trust it. Because intuition without evidence feels dangerous. Unstable. Like something you can't defend. So you adapted. You waited. For confirmation. For signs. For something outside of you. To validate what you already felt inside. And while you were waiting, you stayed. In conversations that drained you. In situations that felt slightly off. In places you had already outgrown. Quietly. Gradually disconnecting. While pretending everything was fine. That's what this feeling is. Not confusion. Not anxiety. Recognition. Something in your life right now doesn't align anymore. And you've known it. Not recently, for a while. But knowing and accepting are not the same thing, because accepting it means movement. Real movement. Not maybe later. Not let's think about it. Double quotes. No. The kind of movement that closes a door on something that once felt right. And that's where the tension lives. Not in the unknown. In what you already know and haven't acted on. You've been here before. Standing at that edge, feeling it, ignoring it. Waiting. Hoping it would resolve itself without you having to choose. But it never does. It just becomes clearer, harder to ignore, more precise. Until one day, you can't pretend anymore, because now you see it, exactly what feels off, exactly where the energy shifts, exactly what no longer matches you. And the hardest part, it used to. It was real. It made sense. You felt aligned. That's why you stayed. That's why you tried to fix it. That's why your mind keeps going back. Maybe it can be like that again. But something in you is changing now. You're starting to realize. It didn't suddenly change. You just started seeing it clearly. That's what this is. Not something new, something revealed. The illusions aren't breaking. They're fading. Quietly. Through moments you can't ignore. Through feelings that repeat. Through that signal inside you. You keep trying to explain away. And every time you dismiss it, it comes back. Clearer. Stronger. More precise. Not to confuse you. To wake you up. Because this isn't about losing something. It's about alignment. But alignment doesn't feel peaceful at first. It feels like tension, like something is being pulled out of place. Because it is. You're moving out of something that no longer fits who you're becoming. And there's no guide for that. No instructions. No confirmation. Just that feeling. You felt it. You ignored it. Now you can't. Because something changed. Not around you. inside you don't need proof anymore, because a part of you already knows. If you keep ignoring this, you're not protecting yourself, you're delaying something inevitable, and you feel that now. Clearly. And more than anything, you're tired. Tired of delaying it. Pause. This is where it shifts. Not outside. Inside. Not with action, with realization, a quiet one, but final. You're no longer asking, is this real? You're starting to ask, what happens if I finally trust it? And that changes everything. So what happens when you stop doubting it, not analyzing, not explaining, not waiting for someone else to confirm it? Just trusting it. At first, nothing dramatic. No breakthrough, no big moment. Just silence, but not the old kind, a different silence, where your mind finally stops arguing with you, because the truth is you were never confused. You were negotiating, trying to make it fit, trying to make it work, trying to make it feel right again when it already didn't. You felt it in your chest, that tightness you couldn't explain. In your stomach, that drop you ignored. Before your mind even caught up. And still you stayed. That moment when you almost texted them and then didn't. You stared at the screen. You knew something felt off, but instead of trusting it, you questioned yourself. Again. And again. And again. Not as a thought. As a feeling. Because thoughts can lie, feelings don't, and yours have been consistent, even when everything else kept changing. And then something shifts, not outside. Inside. The moment you stop resisting it, things begin to rearrange. Not magically. Precisely. You notice it in small ways. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never really listening. You stop forcing conversations that always felt slightly off. That moment when you stay silent instead of trying to fix the energy. And for the first time, that silence feels right. Not heavy. Clean. And that's new, because you're not acting against yourself anymore. You're not betraying what you feel just to keep what you have, and that changes everything. Not loudly. Quietly. You start moving differently, more selective, more precise. Not chasing. Not proving, not fixing. Just aligning. And what leaves your life was already misaligned. What stays finally matches you. And here's the part you can't ignore anymore. The thing you were afraid to face was never going to break you. It was going to free you, but you kept delaying it. Because delay felt safer, but it wasn't. You didn't need more time. You needed to stop lying to yourself. That's the shift. Not time. Truth. Because it was never about the situation. Not the people. Not the timing. Not the uncertainty. Delay. That's what kept you stuck. And now you see it. Clearly. And once you see it, you can't go back to pretending you don't. That's why this feels different. Not heavier. Sharper. More honest. Because this isn't something happening to you. It's something revealing you, stripping away the version of you that kept doubting, that kept waiting, that kept asking for confirmation you never actually needed. And now that version doesn't fit anymore. You feel it in small moments. And what no longer triggers you. And what no longer excites you. And how quickly you recognize, this isn't for me anymore. No verthinking. No analysis. Just knowing, and trusting that knowing. Because for a long time, you thought clarity would come from outside, a message, a sign, a conversation, but it did in single quotes. It came from exhaustion. From being tired of questioning yourself when your intuition had already answered, from realizing every time you ignored it you ended up in the same place. Different situation. Same feeling. And now you see it. The pattern wasn't random. It was trying to show you something. And now you finally understand what you were never meant to stay. Where you had to doubt yourself, you were never meant to build stability on top of uncertainty, and you were never meant to silence the one thing that was always right. Your intuition didn't fail you. You just didn't trust it, and that ends now, not because you decided, because you can't ignore it anymore. You feel it. Too clearly. Too consistently. Too real. That's the point of no return. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just certain, a quiet certainty. The kind that doesn't ask for permission. The kind that doesn't explain itself. The kind that just says, this is true, and for the first time. You don't argue with it, you move differently now. More grounded. More intentional. You don't chase, you don't force, you don't fix, you choose. And what leaves was never meant to stay. What remains finally aligns. And what comes next feels familiar, not because you've lived it before, because you felt it coming for a long time. And now you trust that. That's the confirmation. Not from the outside, from you. The moment you realize, I wasn't imagining it, I wasn't overthinking, I was noticing. And once you trust that, you stop questioning your reality. And when that happens, everything becomes simpler, not easier, but clearer. Cleaner. More honest. More real. So this is your 2026 Taurus. Not a prediction, a recognition. Not something that's coming, something that's already here. Quietly. Persistently. Honestly. And now you're finally ready to meet it. Without doubt, without delay. Just truth, because what you feel is real.